Oh, yes. Welcome to another episode of SnobCast. So glad to have you here. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing, by the way, on YouTube, and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Snob Media, and same thing for YouTube, Snob Media. This is Johnny Fiasque. Hope you had a great week. And this will be a short one today. Just got some things going on. Busy week. Festivals coming up here in Montreal. One of them being the world famous Montreal Jazz Festival. That this year, I don't think they've ever had such an incredible free lineup. When I mean free, like free shows. Lee Fields, Tash Sultana, Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats, one of my favorites. The Roots, free. This all starts, I believe, June 30th till July 9th here in Montreal. If you're in the area, be sure to check that out. And it's free. There's some indoor paying shows, but those big ones I just mentioned, all free. The other stuff that's coming up too is the Montreal Just for Laughs Festival, the Comedy Mecca Festival. It's good to be back. I'm very excited to attend some of those shows. So many good shows coming up. Bill Burr, Kevin Hart. Those are the big guys. There's Fortune Feimster. There's Pantelis, a local comedy giant here, making his way to the festival. And in a few weeks, we'll have a special guest here on the podcast. So look out for that. One of the comics that is performing at the Nasty Show. But that's where we'll leave it at. We'll leave it at that. Just take it from there. In a few weeks, you'll see that episode pop up here on Snob Media and SnobCast. And yeah, I had a pretty good weekend. Here in Montreal, it's bustling because this coming weekend is the Montreal Grand Prix, the F1. And that hasn't happened since 2019, I think. And I have a lot of friends here that are excited. And the city's just happening. It's a lot of fun to see it back in form. And I love my city. I mean, there's some things I hate about this fucking city, but for the most part, I love it. And I mean, it's I'm born and raised in Montreal. I mean, this is so many good things happening here in the summer. I never really leave on vacation in the summer because our summers are usually very nice, warm, and there's just so much going on. Like I just mentioned, all the festivals. That's just the tip of the iceberg. There's terraces you could sit outside and eat. So many great restaurants and all that shit. But I had the I don't know if you've had this discussion with some of your family or friends, but have you had the discussion about the transition from like vinyl to CD to tape, all that stuff? This is stuff that fascinates me. The other day I stepped out and I went to a local record shop called 180 grams, 180 grams. It's a record shop, and it's also a newly opened little restaurant bistro thing, and they got some great food there. I hadn't tried it yet, but I will go back to try it, and because it looked so great. But I mean, I should have just stayed home the other day because I went to the record shop just randomly, just hadn't been in a few weeks, and I left there with $120 bill. 3 vinyls later, they were pretty, great vinyls. I picked up Prince's Love Sexy from the late 80s, which I did not have. I don't have many Prince vinyls, even though I'm a massive fan. It's kind of hard to get your hands on some of the, his earlier stuff. But so I picked up Prince's Love Sexy, a used copy of that. And then in the new bins, they had Miles Davis's Kind of Blue, which is a masterpiece, which I actually it's been in my cart for a long time on Amazon. So I'm glad I was able to support a local business and get this record. If you don't know what Kind of Blue is, it's pretty much Miles Davis ripping it, but there's also Cannonball Adderley on that. There's Bill Evans and there's John Coltrane, just to name a few. It's a pretty majestic album, if you ask me. And then the big one for me, that I could not leave without was 1999's Moby Play. Now, so much shit surrounding Moby the last few years. Like he's a hardcore vegan and he got the whole vegan tattoo on his neck and all that stuff. But I think he's a brilliant musician. I haven't really followed anything that he's done in the last, 10 years. But that album, Play, that came out in 99, it always brings me back to grade 5. I had a teacher who, his name was Mr. Greg, who played this album in the class. And I thought it was so weird because here we are, we're like 5th grade. What are we, like 11, 10 or 11 or whatever? And this guy is playing Porcelain by Moby. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go and listen to it. You'll know right away. It was almost in all movie trailers in the 90s. Porcelain, I'm talking about. But the album has so many other great hits, like Natural Blues and Honey. And I don't know, there's so many good songs on that album. And I had never seen it on vinyl. So I said, I got to pick this up. That was a hefty one. But yeah, going back to the Mr. Greg grade 5 thing, he would play this as like meditation music. And it's just, it's such a great album because it really transports it to another dimension. I listened to it when I got home and I forgot how great it was of an album. And I immediately thought about my grade 5 class. And ever since, I always associate Moby with that teacher. I have no idea if he's still a teacher, if he's even still in Montreal. He was a cool dude. He actually made us also read Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone or the Sorcerer's Stone, whichever one it was. But and he was a cool guy. He was a cool guy, Mr. Greg. And I just always think about him. And I always, if you listen to Porcelain, like I said, it was in a lot of trailers in the 90s. It's specifically in the trailer for The Beach with Leonardo DiCaprio. I just remember this. And I remember being a kid hearing the song in the trailer and being like, what fucking song is this? It's so cool. And then here we are, fast forward into like the classroom, and this cool ass teacher is playing Moby, but so my whole thing is just, I got up Saturday, I should have just stayed home, and I ended up spending all that money. And but it's fun to have a passion. It's fun to it's an expensive passion, you know what I mean? I've always been in and out of the vinyl craze. I really got back into it during the pandemic, when I bought a decent record player and took more time to listen and to enjoy. Whereas now I've got, like, I'm looking around here, I've got 5 crates of vinyls, and a lot of money spent, but all for good. Come on. I was very much into vinyl prior to the pandemic, but then I wasn't like I would just buy things here and there. I wasn't listening and as attentive to it as I am now, where I see certain records that I'm like, I need to own them, And I'm lucky enough to own quite a few classics, not a few, quite a lot of classics. I have most of the Beatles discography, not most, I have it all actually. I just didn't want to gloat, but I have all of the Beatles discography. And I mean, as far as other things, just classic albums that are just around. Some of them originals, some of them are reissues. I mean, that's the name of the game nowadays, is that it's super hard to find originals. And if you do find, for certain artists, they're over the top expensive. So that's why now they're kind of reissuing them. Not the same sound quality, as it would be if you put on a record from the 70s, let's say. Like I'm a huge Bill Withers fan, and I have I think 1 or 2 that are originals and the rest are reissues. But the one original that I have and I take pride in owning is the Bill Withers Live at Carnegie Hall double album, because this album for me is what kind of really started my love for Bill. And one of my ex girlfriends got me this record a few years ago, and I'm so careful when I play it. And I don't play it often. I play it more on Spotify. I don't take the record out because it's an original, and like I'm so scared to scratch it or to just have like a tear in the fold, and like I just, these are things you got to be careful with. It's on display though. It's like the first record that you see in one of the carts, in my other room. But I don't take it out often. I don't take it out of the sleeve often, the plastic sleeve often, because I'm scared, and I know it's a hefty price. I never looked up how much it was, and I don't want to know, honestly. I know they have a reissued version of it. I think it's like 50 or 60 bucks, but it was definitely not 50 or $60 when it was purchased a few years ago for me as a gift. But yeah, and kind of like, you know, going on same subject as like vinyl. I mean, if you are like me and you're a collector, I have a shit ton of DVDs and Blu-rays. But at one point, all these DVDs and Blu-rays were VHS tapes. And I mean, I have some friends that are still very, very much VHS users. I wish I still was a VHS user. I did get rid of a lot of my VHS tapes when I moved in on my own. I did keep the classics, like the Disney ones, but a part of me wishes I would have kept it because there's my dad's voice in the back of my head that's always like, oh, at some point this will all come back, just like vinyl did. But the visual media is different than music or whatever. Like, if because the thing is, owning DVDs, owning VHS tapes, it takes up a lot of room. Like, I can tell you for a fact that I have, one full closet that's just filled with like DVDs, and then I have like some others spread along my media room here in my office. And I mean, that's just what it is, and it takes a lot of room. And I know a lot of people now, they just have all the streaming platforms, and because you can have everything just, touch of a button, and everything that you've always loved is on digital streaming platforms. You know what I mean? Netflix, Crave, whatever, Disney Plus, whatever it may be that you're using. But a lot of stuff is also hard to find now and out of print. That's why here we've spoken a few episodes ago about the Criterion Collection, and I'll get into that a few more into detail on another episode. But things like the Criterion Collection are the saviors of film. That's just what it is. And they're reissuing classic films that are not around or that are super hard to find, and they have the exclusivity to release these films. It could be newer films. It could be films from golden age of Hollywood. Like all sorts of European titles, like just everything. I mean, Criterion bought the release rights for The Irishman, for example, which was Scorsese's last film, the one that was on Netflix. So Criterion, the only way you can watch The Irishman is if you have Netflix or if you buy the Criterion Collection DVD or Blu-ray, and I think that's fucking cool. So VHS tapes, I do think, because we're in such a world of like nostalgia and that everyone loves things that feel old and that make you feel good, I think that at some point VHS tapes will have a comeback. I'm not sure how it will be. I know, like, if you still buy, like I buy, and you go to like stores and things, you'll see, like, I think it was, and I might be wrong, but I think they released Stranger Things, the first and second season of Stranger Things, in like a uh, DVD set, but it was like the box was a VHS tape box, but inside was DVDs. You know what I mean? It's kind of just this, oh, because in the 80s, the show was set in the 80s, well, then we may as well have the box look like a VHS tape, but inside have the discs, So there's all these things that come back, like same for tapes, cassette tapes. For me growing up, that's what was first. It wasn't vinyl, it was cassette tapes, then CDs, and then we went back to vinyl. But there's just so much transition for all these various like mediums, and like it's a lot to take in, but it's a lot of fun because it's nice to see things come back, and especially things. I'm 31 now, and like some things that were around when I was a kid whether it be, elementary school or high school. Some of these things don't exist anymore. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of fun to go back and I love spending, an hour or more in a record shop, just going through records and finding things I don't expect. Like I have a list of records that I want to own. And sometimes if you don't actively look for those records, they will show up. That's kind of like a source of manifestation. You know what I mean? So it's just a lot of fun to go there. And I like also going to like, DVD sales and things where that's a dangerous place for me because that's where I'll spend a lot of money. And then I have no place to put shit anymore. You know what I mean? But yeah, I don't even going back to fucking nostalgia. I just the other day saw Top Gun Maverick. Fuck. It was so great. It was so fantastic. And here we are. It's we're rewinding back to 1986. You know what I mean? Everything about that film was so good. And I wanted to go home and I just wanted to watch the original again. And that's exactly what I fucking did. And I mean, I don't know if you've seen the movie yet. It's everything that everyone is saying it is. It's not bullshit. It is an incredible, incredible film. Say what you will about Tom Cruise's personal life, but the guy knows what the fuck he's doing on screen. He's flying his own planes. He's riding motorcycles, flying out of planes. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like he's one of the only bankable stars of his age group that if you put Tom Cruise's name on a movie poster or on any movie, it's going to be a blockbuster. And this was the blockbuster that we were missing the last 3 years over the pandemic. I don't remember the last time I saw a film that was that big to say like, fuck, it feels good to watch a summer blockbuster. The summer blockbuster is back. And now you keep going on with like, it was like 1 week after the other. You had Top Gun Maverick, then you had Jurassic World Dominion, which I heard was garbage. I haven't seen it yet, and then like in a few weeks you got, I think this week actually is Lightyear, the story of Buzz Lightyear. Like all these things are just coming back. People, that's why the whole reboot fucking thing is so big and like you can't escape it. You can't escape it. Curious to know what reboot you think is really great, actually. So send me a DM or something. That's a interesting question. But yeah, let me know. I am very excited about the next few weeks. It'll be a very, very busy summer. Like I said, JFL, Just for Laughs Comedy Festival will be back in Montreal, and I'll be covering some shows and getting some interviews with comics. So in the coming weeks, there will be our first special guest on the SnobCast Reboot podcast, and very excited about that. In the meantime, thanks for listening today. I got nothing else to say. I feel like I rambled on and kind of went all over there, but it's a lot of fun to do this and to just clear my brain and have you listen to me. Don't forget to follow us on social media, Snob Media. Also check us out on YouTube and subscribe to Snob Media. And also while you're there, check out Cooking with Snobs and everything else we got going on the Snob Media page. And don't forget to check out our producer here, Lino Creatives. Fucking genius. He'll make your business look beautiful. He's such a nice guy. Shout out to Lino Creatives. Check him out on social media. In the meantime, I wish you all a fantastic week and hope to see you again next week on SnobCast.